A Turkish mafia boss gunned down at a Barcelona cafe. A young girl critically injured in a London drive-by. A gang leader executed in broad daylight in Chisinau. These aren't just headlines, they're pieces of a larger puzzle revealing a fierce underworld war sweeping across Europe. A surge of violence tied to major Turkish criminal organizations has erupted across several European cities, with suspected mafia affiliates brazenly gunned down in public spaces, heightening fears of an escalating conflict within the Turkish underworld. This wave of bloodshed began in May, on the sunlit streets of Barcelona. A man enjoying lunch in a bustling seaside district abruptly stepped away from his companions after receiving a phone call. Moments later, an assassin struck, firing fatal shots before fleeing the scene. This audacious murder, carried out in broad daylight, marked the start of a chilling pattern of violence. Only 3 weeks later, the violence spilled into London, where a drive-by shooting at a local restaurant left 3 men wounded. The attack shocked the UK, as a 9-year-old girl dining with her family was struck by a stray bullet. The child, gravely injured, was rushed to the hospital in critical condition, her involvement highlighting the indiscriminate and reckless nature of these escalating conflicts. In July, the brutality continued in Chisinau, the capital of Moldova. A 41-year-old man was seated at an outdoor cafe table when an assailant unleashed a hail of bullets, striking him 7 times and ending his life amidst unsuspecting patrons. These attacks, increasingly bold and public, have exposed the ferocity of rivalries between Turkish criminal gangs. Law enforcement and organized crime experts have identified these incidents as part of a vicious tit-for-tat cycle between opposing factions of Turkish mafias vying for dominance. Several of the victims, as confirmed by police sources, were prominent figures within the criminal underworld, their deaths underscoring the stakes in this violent power struggle. The growing body count signals a new and dangerous phase of volatility within the Turkish criminal world. Analysts and law enforcement officials speaking to the Organized Crime and Corruption Reporting Project have emphasized that the intensification of these conflicts marks a significant shift in how Turkish organized crime operates, with repercussions reverberating across Europe. The violence has not been confined to these recent events. Last year, 6 members of a Turkish gang based in Istanbul were executed in Greece, reportedly in retaliation for the assassination of a rival gang leader in Paris. In May, Europol announced that an Italian-led operation had resulted in the arrest of 17 Turkish nationals implicated in murders across Europe. While the details remain sparse, the arrests underscore the cross-border nature of these criminal enterprises. Europol, the European Union's law enforcement agency, has been actively supporting investigations into these incidents, acknowledging a broader rise in violent confrontations among criminal organizations of diverse nationalities. These clashes, increasingly taking place in public venues, are fueling concerns about public safety. There's intense competition right now for market control and geographic dominance, said Claire Georges, a Europol deputy spokesperson. She noted that violence, once limited to logistical points such as transit hubs, is now spilling into the streets, making the threat more visible and urgent. This shift is why law enforcement is treating the situation with heightened seriousness. The heightened aggression within Turkish criminal circles may be partly attributed to a severe heroin shortage. Turkish gangs, traditionally dominant in heroin trafficking, have been deeply affected by the Taliban's 2022 ban on opium cultivation in Afghanistan. This ban has dramatically reduced the availability of the drug, leading to fierce battles over the remaining supply. When heroin supplies dwindle, competition for control intensifies, explained Ian Broughton, a former detective with London's Metropolitan Police and a specialist in drug trafficking and gang-related violence. The conditions are ripe for a surge in violence, and that is precisely what we're witnessing. Simon Harding, director of the National Center for Gang Research at the University of West London, expressed his belief that the recent violent incidents in Barcelona, London, and Moldova are not isolated events but part of a larger pattern, likely connected to each other. Speaking to OCCRP's media partner The Guardian, Harding noted that these shootings underscore a critical vulnerability within even the most powerful and feared criminal networks, particularly during periods of instability and upheaval. This demonstrates that trust is no longer an unshakable foundation, it can be purchased, just like loyalty, Harding explained. His expertise is well established, as he regularly advises key institutions such as the UK's Home Office, the Metropolitan Police in London, and the National Crime Agency. The implications of his assessment are stark. When allegiances can shift with financial incentives, no crime boss, no matter how influential, is untouchable. A seasoned Spanish police investigator, who has spent over 2 decades specializing in the fight against heroin trafficking, described the ongoing turmoil as a war between clans. Choosing to remain anonymous due to a lack of authorization to speak to the media, the investigator emphasized the dominance of Turkish criminal organizations in Europe's heroin trade. These gangs, he said, are the undisputed masters of this illicit market, efficiently smuggling shipments into Europe either through the bustling Belgian port of Antwerp or via truck routes traversing the Balkans. Their operations are deeply entrenched in cities like Barcelona, where seemingly legitimate establishments, such as restaurants, serve as operational hubs. Echoing the views of Ian Broughton, the Spanish police source highlighted the consequences of Afghanistan's opium ban in 2022, which drastically reduced heroin availability. This supply shortage has triggered an astronomical spike in heroin prices, fueling intensified competition among criminal groups. Mehmet Cengiz, an associate professor at the Terrorism, Transnational Crime, and Corruption Center at George Mason University, offered a grim forecast for the escalating conflict. As an expert in the Turkish criminal underworld, he predicted that the violent struggle for control over the drug trade will inevitably result in more assassinations. Considering their operational capabilities, dominance in key crime sectors, and vast global networks, it's highly likely that we'll see a rising death toll as these factions battle for greater shares of the immensely profitable drug trafficking market, Cengiz warned. Furthermore, Cengiz detailed how Turkish criminal organizations are broadening the scope of their illicit activities, moving beyond heroin to include cocaine trafficking. Recent developments have seen substantial quantities of cocaine entering Turkey from Latin America, a feat achieved through collaborations between Turkish criminal networks operating both within Europe and domestically. This shift highlights the adaptability and resourcefulness of these groups as they explore alternative revenue streams. In addition to heroin and cocaine, Cengiz pointed to the increasing role of Turkish gangs in distributing methamphetamine. Much of this methamphetamine originates in Iran, where it is smuggled into Turkey before being funneled into distribution channels throughout Europe. But drugs are not the only illegal enterprise dominating these networks. These groups are heavily involved in human smuggling and trafficking, Cengiz added, describing a wide-ranging portfolio of crimes that extends beyond narcotics to exploit vulnerable populations for profit. The combined diversification and global reach of Turkish criminal organizations underscore the formidable challenge they pose to law enforcement agencies attempting to curtail their influence. The man who fell victim to the brazen daylight shooting in Barcelona on May 4, 2024, has been identified as Ilmetin Akin, a Turkish national who was known by the moniker Tekin the Eagle, or Tekin Kartal in Turkish. His reputation in criminal circles was significant, with Spanish police sources referring to him as a major player within the Turkish Mafia. Despite his alleged prominence in organized crime, no formal record of criminal convictions could be found, leaving his true activities shrouded in mystery. The investigation into his murder is being led by the Mossos d'Esquadra, the Catalan police, who have yet to publicly identify a suspect. However, they are exploring several possible motives for the killing, including the potential settling of scores between rival gangs, personal revenge related to a love affair, or a dispute among Kartal's criminal associates. These theories underscore the complex and dangerous world in which Kartal operated, where alliances can quickly turn into deadly rivalries. At the time of the attack, Kartal had been dining in Barcelona's bustling Diagonal Mar neighborhood, a popular area known for its seaside charm and vibrant atmosphere. He was seated at a restaurant table with 3 other men, one of whom was in a wheelchair. According to sources, Kartal's final moments began when he received a phone call that prompted him to leave the table. It remains unclear whether he stepped away to take the call in private or to meet the person on the other end of the line. He didn't make it far. Kartal walked just 80 meters from the restaurant before his life was violently cut short. Near a bus stop, an unidentified assailant approached him and fired 5 shots with chilling precision. 4 of those bullets struck Kartal in the head, leaving no chance of survival. The assassin fled the scene immediately, vanishing into the urban sprawl, while Kartal collapsed in a pool of his own blood. This cold and calculated killing has left investigators with numerous unanswered questions and a sense of urgency to uncover the truth. Kartal's murder not only highlights the high stakes of life within the Turkish Mafia, but also serves as a grim reminder of how quickly power and influence can turn into vulnerability. The streets of Barcelona, usually bustling with tourists and locals, became the backdrop for this violent execution, a stark testament to the dangerous world of organized crime that operates in the shadows, yet occasionally erupts into the public eye with devastating consequences. Authorities in the United Kingdom, Germany, Greece, and Italy are keeping a close watch on the investigation into the murder of Tekin Kartal, particularly given the alleged involvement of Abdullah Beybasin, a notorious figure in the European criminal underworld. Beybasin, who was dining with Kartal in Barcelona on the day of the murder, is a name deeply intertwined with the history of Europe's drug trade, according to sources who spoke to OCCRP. 2 Spanish law enforcement officials revealed that Kartal had been sharing a meal with the 64-year-old Beybasin, a Turkish citizen linked to a clan long associated with drug trafficking across Europe. The Beybasin family's notoriety is cemented by Abdullah's brother, Hussein Beybasin, once dubbed Europe's Pablo Escobar. Hussein is currently serving a life sentence in the Netherlands for his role in large-scale drug smuggling operations. Abdullah Beybasin himself has a history marked by crime and controversy. Paralyzed and confined to a wheelchair since a shooting in the 1980s, his criminal career spans decades. In 2006, he was convicted in the United Kingdom of conspiring to supply heroin and admitted to charges of blackmail. At the time, media reports claimed his gang, the Hackney Bombers, also known as the Hackney Turks due to their operations in northeast London, were responsible for bringing in as much as 90% of the heroin consumed in the UK. However, in a dramatic twist, Beybasin was acquitted of the drug charges during a retrial in 2010. Following his release, he returned to Turkey, but his legal troubles were far from over. Within months, he was arrested again and sentenced to 40 years in prison over allegations of involvement in a cocaine shipment from Bolivia. This conviction, too, was eventually overturned in 2017 by Turkey's Supreme Court, leading to his release under judicial control and a travel ban. Despite repeated inquiries from OCCRP, Turkish authorities declined to provide any clarity on his current legal status. Further complicating matters, videos and photographs posted to a fan page on TikTok as recently as June 2024 place Beybasin in northern Spain. Surveillance footage from another Barcelona restaurant shows that he and Kartal had dined together the evening before Kartal was gunned down. Social media images from earlier years, notably 2018 and 2019, depict the two posing together, hinting at a long-standing connection. However, the exact nature of their relationship remains unclear. Beybasin has publicly denied any involvement in Kartal's death or the subsequent shootings in London. In a video widely circulated on TikTok and other platforms dedicated to tracking figures from Turkey's criminal underworld, he declared, "If I had anything to do with this, the state is not stupid. They would have taken me, questioned me, and put me in jail." He did not specify which country's authorities he referred to in his statement. Hussein Beybasin, speaking from his prison cell in the Netherlands, distanced himself from the controversy. While he claimed to have never heard of Kartal, he admitted that it was natural for Kartal to have known some members of the Beybasin family, as both hailed from the Diyarbakir region in southeast Turkey. Kartal's murder has sparked a massive response on social media in Turkey, where he enjoyed a loyal following, particularly among young Turkish and Kurdish communities. Videos commemorating him have flooded platforms like TikTok, where users have celebrated his reputation as a figure who never forgot the people. This outpouring of support underscores the complex legacy of Kartal, a man whose life and death have left a significant mark on the turbulent intersection of crime, loyalty, and power in the Turkish underworld. On May 29th, just over 3 weeks after the shocking murder of Tekin Kartal, a violent attack unfolded in Hackney's vibrant Kingsland High Street. Known for its lively atmosphere and unpretentious cafes, the area was rocked by a drive-by shooting that left 3 men injured and a 9-year-old girl critically wounded. The assailant, riding a motorbike, sprayed bullets at a restaurant called Evan, a name that carries cultural significance, meaning love in Kurdish and your home in Turkish, according to its website. The young girl's parents have expressed their uncertainty about her recovery, telling the British media that her future remains precarious. The attack has drawn significant attention, not only for its brutality but also for the shadow it casts on the escalating gang tensions in London. British newspapers have reported that police suspect the involvement of the Tottenham Turks, a notorious gang from North London. The intended target of the attack may have been a member of their rivals, the Hackney Turks. However, it remains unclear if the 3 injured men had any affiliations with criminal organizations. A man linked to the Turkish underworld, who left the group just 15 minutes before the attack, told The Times he believed he was the intended target. The Metropolitan Police issued an appeal to Turkish and Kurdish communities in Hackney and surrounding areas, urging anyone with information about the shooting to come forward. Despite their call for assistance, the police have been tight-lipped about the possible motives or circumstances leading to the attack, declining to provide additional details when questioned by OCCRP. The rivalry between the Tottenham Turks and Hackney Turks is deeply rooted in their respective ethnic and criminal backgrounds. According to Mehmet Cengiz, a professor and expert on Turkish organized crime, the Tottenham Turks are primarily composed of ethnically Turkish members, while the Hackney Turks, linked to the infamous Baybasin clan, are predominantly Kurdish. Cengiz explained that recent conflicts have escalated due to the Tottenham Turks' increasing involvement in heroin trafficking, a domain historically dominated by the Hackney Turks. This expansion has ignited violent clashes, with both groups targeting each other in a bid to assert dominance. The UK's Simon Harding, a leading expert on gang dynamics, highlighted the challenges of addressing such high-stakes organized crime. "These groups are not your average street-level gangs," he said. "They operate in an intricate, shadowy manner, concealing their activities from anyone outside their inner circles. This is not a world of impulsive violence, it's a calculated business enterprise." Harding further explained that while intelligence gathering on these groups is ongoing, it often falls short of the concrete evidence required for arrests. Making an arrest without airtight evidence can backfire, causing more harm than good, especially when dealing with organizations of this caliber, he added. On July 10th, a mere 6 weeks after the devastating drive-by shooting in London, the Tottenham Turks found themselves in the crosshairs of escalating gang violence. This time, the target was on the streets of Chisinau, Moldova, where 41-year-old Izzet Eren, reportedly a leader within the Tottenham Turks and identified by British police as a senior figure in a Turkish crime syndicate, met a brutal end. The attack occurred in broad daylight at a bustling cafe in a crowded neighborhood. Eren, who was sitting on the terrace enjoying the warm morning, was approached by a masked assassin who fired 7 shots, striking him in the head and back. Surveillance footage captured the aftermath, showing Eren slumped lifeless in his chair as chaos erupted around him, with bystanders fleeing in terror. The killer, dressed in a long-sleeved shirt, white trousers, a helmet, and a black face mask, ensured no identifying marks were visible, concealing tattoos or scars that could give him away. Moments later, he was seen riding away on an e-bike, still fully masked. Moldovan authorities described the murder as a calculated and highly public execution. A police source told OCCRP that the decision to kill Eren in a public setting, rather than targeting him at his home, was a deliberate move to send a message. Prosecutors in Moldova suggested that the murder might have been an act of vengeance in ongoing gang rivalries or a preemptive strike to silence Eren, who was wanted in the UK on charges related to illegal drug trafficking. Moldovan prosecutor Denis Rotaru confirmed multiple lines of inquiry, including the possibility of inter-gang conflicts driving the assassination. Aaron's criminal history further complicates the narrative. In 2015, he was sentenced in the UK to 21 years in prison for firearm offenses. Transferred to a Turkish prison in August 2019 to serve his sentence, he managed to escape within a month, vanishing from authorities' radar. Moldovan officials revealed that Aaron had entered the country 2 years prior, traveling from Ukraine through the separatist Transnistrian region, a pro-Russian enclave known for harboring military bases and troops. According to Lilian Karp, head of Moldova's National Security, Defense, and Public Order Committee, Aaron blended in with the influx of refugees fleeing the war in Ukraine, using the chaotic situation to cross borders undetected. The fallout from Aaron's assassination has been far-reaching. Moldovan politicians and media reported that the killer swiftly left the country the same day, crossing into Romania via minibus before allegedly flying to Italy. 2 individuals have since been arrested as accomplices in the crime, although the main suspect remains at large. Authorities have opened a case for premeditated murder, but the investigation is ongoing. At the time of his death, Aaron was awaiting a decision on an extradition request from the UK, where he was wanted for further legal proceedings. However, repeated postponements had delayed any ruling, leaving him in legal limbo. His murder has spurred legislative changes in Moldova, with Parliament voting to amend laws to expedite extradition processes, a move likely prompted by the international attention and criticism following the case. Aaron's killing, much like the violence that preceded it, underscores the ruthless nature of the ongoing conflicts between rival Turkish criminal groups. The brazen attack in the heart of Moldova highlights not only the geographical reach of these gangs, but also their willingness to carry out public executions to solidify power and settle scores. With tensions continuing to rise, such incidents serve as a grim reminder of the pervasive influence and brutality of organized crime on an international scale.